Hi all. Today we are conducting our applied cost cartel activity, that is an interview with a contractor. We are interviewing Mr. Sachin S. Panikar, who is General Manager of SG Traders and Agencies. It's situated in Kochi. So let's ask our doubts about contracts and let him join us. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
So, first question is, what type of contracts are mainly done by your company, and what are the challenges your company face when choosing those contracts?
Uh, Primarily, I'm in the field of building materials as well as construction activities. So we have two types of contracts mostly. One is a supply contract, which is a fairly straightforward one, where the costs are all fixed. It's basically just a supply of materials. Another one is a work contract, where there will be a collection of activities where supply will be involved. There will be erection or installation activities will be there. So that will be a slightly longer term contract where costing will be more complex, where variable factors like labor and time will be involved in that. So these are the two types of contracts that we face in our industry, that I encounter. Regarding challenges for a contractor, there is no choice actually. When you're coming to a choice, challenges in a choice of contract, no, the choice is for the client. The client will have the choice of selecting, which contracts he wants to go for. The contractor, as such, don't have the luxury of selecting the contracts. But at the same time, some of the challenges that we face in a contract are, some clauses which might be harmful to us in the future, like. One is escalation contracts. Like, for example, if it is a long-term contract, the price of the items, the cost of the items will go up. So this will affect us in the longer run. So there, we may require an escalation clause in the contract that may help us to overcome this difficulty. Another one is the delayed penalties. There are some contracts will have the delayed penalties. Like, if we overrun a project, there will be delayed penalties will be there. That will be an issue for us. So those kinds of things will come into a picture. And then other deductibles, like some deductibles might be there. So these, whenever we are coming to a contract, these are some of the challenges that we face, which the client might want to put in the contract, but which we might not really want to be there. But choice wise, we don't actually have a choice. Like, it is all about the client only.
Thank you, sir. Next question was, which was your biggest contract, and do you work on government contracts or only on private contracts?
In the recent past, and if you talk about a bigger contract, I have done some medical college works in Palakkad, then Pathanamthitta as well as Alapi. Then a part of the work of IIT Palakkad was also done by executed by us only. We work on both private and government contracts. Governments, we usually work with departments like CPWD, which is Central Public Works Department, MES, Military Engineering Services. Private, we work with mostly builders and architects, those kinds of people.
Okay, thank you, sir.
I'm with Tom Shibu. Sir, I would like to ask that how do you ensure that contracts are completed on time and within budget constraints?
So completion of contract within a time is more depend on the planning aspects. Like, when we get into a contract itself, we will have the plan of, what is the executables. I mean, like, these are the specifications of the contract. This is the length and breadth of the contract. We'll come to understand that. Then we'll make a plan about it. There are common project management tools like Gantt chart, project management tools, which we'll have. So where we'll break down into key milestones. Like, if there is it's a big project, we'll have milestones in between, which we have to hit on particular dates, particular times. There will be some items in the project which might be a bottleneck. Like, for example, there is one activity that is to be completed for the next activity to start. So everything will depend on how well this activity is finished. So for us, that might be a bottleneck. That activity might be more important than another activity. So we will focus more of our attention on this particular activity, which might result in the delay of many further activities down the line. So what we do at the time of planning itself, we'll have some key deliverables, like key performance indexes. Like, where there'll be some points, like, this is 5-10 points will be there, which we have to complete on time. So that we'll keep on tracking. Like, we'll have the plan, then we'll discuss that with our team, and we'll track those activities also. So these are very important, like these milestones, KPIs, this which we'll track. and we'll obviously pay more attention during the planning phase also. So these are the some of the common things that we'll do to keep the contract in line. But in spite of all this, still, there will be things that might go out of our hands, but usually this will suffice to our requirement.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Sir, my question is, do you subcontract the work, or so how do you ensure the quality of that work?
Yes, subcontracting, yes, for some of the works, which we may not be able to do ourselves or which might not be a core activity for us, we'll subcontract the work. Regarding quality, to ensure the quality, one is that, we'll go with the experience. Like, some of the most of the subcontractors, we might have an experience previously. We might have worked with them before. So we'll know what they will be able to deliver. So that is something that we'll keep into consideration. Again, the same thing, this planning and tracking that, what we implement within our organization, we'll try to get it done by the subcontractor also. That is something that we'll be tracking on a regular basis. Again, the same deliverables, what are the key milestones that the subcontractor has to hit. And when we make the contract with the subcontractor also, we'll make sure that, whatever is the quality issue, quality aspects that they have to take care, we'll make it a specific point in the contract itself. Like, the contract will have a very detailed specification of the work that to be done. And during important works, our own team, our own quality control team, or we will have the inspection, or we'll do the joint inspection with them, so that the work is delivered to our satisfaction and our quality requirements. So basically, it is just we cannot consider subcontractor as a separate person. He's part of our team only. So whatever activities that we are doing in house, we'll extend it to the subcontractor also.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening, sir. My name is Afam, and my question is, can you explain your approach to sustainability and environmental consideration in your work?
Uh, Honestly, sustainability and environmental consideration cannot be something that a contractor can decide by himself. It is something that has to come from the top of the project, like the client and the architect, or any of the specifiers that are involved there. They'll have to do it. But wherever it is possible from the contractor's point of view, we will be implementing activities that will support sustainability and environmental friendliness. For example, simple things like, if you want for a construction project, there will be bricks are used. So there are many types of bricks that are available in the market. You can use maybe a clay brick. That is the simplest thing. It is sustainable product. It is a natural product, but it is slightly expensive. But then there are the cement blocks that are available, which is not very environmental friendly, but which might give the required strength as well as the cost effectiveness that is required for the project. Then there are bricks like fly ash bricks, which are actually a modern thing, but they are more expensive. At the same time, our labor might not be really capable of working with them. So then again, it depends on the client. If the client wants to actually maybe spend 10 or 20% extra to get this sustainability and environmental friendliness in the project, then obviously as a contractor, we will be able to execute that. And there are certain cases like, in a green building, and a building is going to be green certificate, then there is a requirement that 70% of the products that we use in the building, or a certain percentage of the materials that we use in the product, are sustainable. So wherever possible that we try to use that, we try to reduce the impact on the environment. We try to use materials that will provide the least amount of impact to the environment. But at the same time, everything comes down to a point of practicality, like, what the client actually wants and what he wants us to deliver.
Thank you, sir. So the next question is, how do you break down the budget, and what strategies do you use to stay within the budget?
uh, Budget, I won't say we'll break it down. We'll actually build up a budget. See, whenever a project comes into picture, we know, this is the total project. So there will be a bill of quantities that will be prepared in the beginning, like, these are the items that are involved in this bill. For example, I'll just for a simple example of a building, there will be concreting work will be there, there will be foundation work will be there will be brick work will be there will be plastering work, there will be masonry work, there will be joinery work, electrical work, plumbing work. So you have all these components there. So we cost them, each of them individually. Like, you will have the material part, you will have the labor part, then we might add a bit of, like, miscellaneous or contingencies expenses on top of that. And so we build each item separately and build it all together to become our budget. So it is not the other way. We won't break down the budget. We are already building for the roots, like, this is how we have prepared the budget. And then what we do is, we already know how a particular item is being cost by us. So we'll try to make sure that we stay within that. But see, there are times when, it will go beyond that, but then we will be able to know that because we are tracking it throughout the lifetime of the project. We'll know, if something is going to go above the budget, we'll try ways to actually minimize it. But at the same time, because we have planned for contingencies, that might be absorbed by the contingency portion. Other cases, like there are some parts of the project which might actually come under budget also. So it finally it all balances out, like if you have actually really planned a project properly and budgeted it accurately, then the chances of going over budget are less if we can plan and execute it properly. So these things, we always track that, what is the budget for a particular item. If it goes beyond that, then we'll try to minimize that, wastage, or we'll try to execute it much better. We'll maybe redeploy our resources so that, it will stay within the budget. Overall, we'll always try to track and execute that to get the best results.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, hello sir. Myself Prasan Biju. My question is, are there any warranties or guarantees included in the contract?
Yes. Again, usually the client will be dictating, the warranties and guarantees. When it comes to the field that I am in, like, building projects and all, usually the client will have a maintenance-free period, like a free maintenance period. Like after the completion or after the delivery of the project, they may require that we may have to give a free maintenance-free period of around maybe 6 months, 1 year, 5 years, depending on the contract. What we do is, like, a part of our payment will also be held up for that. Like, a percentage of our total budget, total project cost will be held up, will be released only after the finishing of this free maintenance period. So when we are costing itself, we'll look into it, what are the warranties. If it is a 6 months warranty, then based on that, for example, a same project with a 6 month warranty as well as a 5 year warranty, the 5 year warranty will obviously be more expensive. That is the thing. So the material selection also becomes important. That, like, if I have to give for one particular project, if I need a 5 year warranty for the project, what are materials that I am trying to use in that will have at least a minimum 5 year guarantee from the supplier itself. So yes, warranties and guarantees are there. It is part of almost all the projects.
Good evening,
Okay,
sir.
good evening, sir. My name is Nikita, and my question is, how do you handle confidentiality with the and data protection requirements within the contracts?
Uh, Data protection and the confidentiality requirements vary from project to project. Some of the projects might have a specific requirement to, there might be IP requirements, that the client will have. So in those cases, depending on the project, we will implement a case-to-case study, a case-to-case basis. We will be implementing strategies. Otherwise, whatever data protection and confidentiality requirements are there in practice, normally in the industry, will be following that. See, these data protection and confidentiality becomes important for, very high profile projects, like, maybe it's a defense project or something, where there will be specific requirements by the client that, only this much access should be given to so and so people, should only be given access to data. Then we'll be following that. So it will be on a need to know basis. But otherwise, generally in the industry, it is not a very IP heavy industry where, you have to really protect your intellectual property. Then the normal practices will be there. Other than that, nothing special, but depends on the project also. If a project requires a special requirement, then, we'll make sure that, the communication is also done like that. They will say that, all the communication, all the official communication should only be through official email handles. Then we'll only do that. We'll not be sending any information through any other modems, like, maybe WhatsApp or, SMS or things like that. That will not be there. It will only be sent by emails or by registered post alone. So it depends on the project. We'll be handling that from a case to case basis.
Okay, so how do you handle communications with the clients throughout the project?
Again, through regular, see, we have a specific schedule, like, before the project itself, we'll have a sit down meeting with the client, not just the client, the entire stakeholders involved in the project. So that involves the client, the architect, the consultants, the project management people, and all these will be involved. So we'll have a discussion with them. We'll discuss what our plan is, what our key deliverables are. And then after, once the project is starting, then we'll have this regular, and, like, it will be depending on the project, like, how often we'll be meeting. So we'll have a meeting where we'll be updating on the process, on the progress of the project, as well as any challenges that we are facing in the project. any inputs that we need from the client side, that will also be there. Further, normal communication like in email and all those things will be happening in the background. Now there are other softwares also which actually helps you to manage sites better, where the clients themselves can monitor what is the progress of the project. We can share our access, our information with the client also, so they can track from the background itself. Generally, communication is very important because we have to stay proactively on top of what is happening in the project. So most of the times we'll make sure that whatever information are there, any new changes or new developments that happens, we intimate to the client in his preferred mode.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Good evening, sir. My question is, how do you stay updated on industry trends and the best practices in construction cost management?
Not specifically to construction cost management, but we generally stay on top of what is happening in the industry, just like any other subject matter for that matter. See, if one of the primary modes is internet, you stay updated on the internet, you follow channels or handles that will be specific to our industry, who are pioneers in the industry. So we do that. Then there will be associations like I am a member of Builders Association of India, which is a national level body which includes traders, contractors, architects, everyone. So there again will have knowledge sharing sessions. We'll be visiting sites of our colleagues who might be doing something different. So those kinds of things are there. Knowledge sharing sessions are there. Then again, magazines, there will be publications and magazines on this industry. So we'll be following that. Generally, whatever, when you are in industry, you will know, where the knowledge centers are. So we'll be following that to keep up to date with the industry trends.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening, sir. Myself, Ethan. And my question is, are there any certificates or qualifications that are important for doing government projects?
Specifically, there are no certificates or this one important for government projects. But whenever you're doing a government project, like in a government project, as in a government department, so you will have to register there as a vendor or as a contractor there first. So for that registration, they will have a certain requirements, like you might require certain degrees, you might require certain staff, you might require certain equipments. There should be a certain level of experience, like you should have this much financial liquidity. These are all pre-qualification criteria, so that is called PQ criteria. So for working on any government project, they will have a PQ requirement that will vary from project to project. So that is nothing special, like an additional to what a private contractor will have. Most of the private contractors will be able to satisfy the government requirements also, but some of them might be very specific, like for some particular government projects. For example, if you are working in defense, like for a military engineering service, me as contractor will have special requirements, like he might require a police clearance certificate also. So that is an additional requirement that a private contractor might not require. So different departments will have different requirements, but nothing special as such. Like a government contractor doesn't require anything additional to what a normal contractor would have.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Hello, sir. My question is, do you have insurance coverage including liability and workers' compensation?
Yes, it is a requirement. You will have insurance to cover your liabilities, like site insurance will be there, and employee compensation. Obviously, you should be covered in that. Even if you are not in a project also. But sometimes the workers who are working in your construction site might not be your own workers. So then you will make sure that your subcontractor will have the necessary insurance coverage to mitigate any liability risks that might be facing.
Thank you, sir. The next question is, do you utilize any specialized software tools for cost accounting in construction?
Specialized tools in cost accounting we will not be using. We'll be using specialized tools for project management that will include cost accounting also. So most of the time, the normal accounting software that we might be using, like any Tally or something, we'll be plugging into your ERP systems, which will be running on this project management tools. So most of these are cloud-based, so it will plug into most of the normal accounting software that you will be using. So you will use a combination of both these. And also sometimes some projects, the client might have a special software that he wants to use for monitoring this particular project. So we will plug into that. Yes, we do. We use specific applications for this purpose. There are specifically this industry-specific applications that are like for a construction industry itself. There is a special application for cost accounting, as well as the total project management. So cost accounting is one part of the total project management, but it is there.
Good evening, sir. So my question is, how do you ensure that your contracts comply with various rules and regulations governing construction projects?
As we ourselves will be aware about most of the rules and regulations that govern construction projects, because we are part of that industry. So most of the rules and regulations we will be specifically aware, but at the same time there will be other like stakeholders also. Like there might be a project management consultant involved in the project who will be in charge of making sure that they will have specific requirements, like specific rules and regulations governing a particular project. Then we will be bound to follow that also. And other times, if it is a project or if it is an industry where we are not really familiar with the rules and regulations required, we will use outside consultants also. For example, if we are building a factory building project, there might be pollution control board requirements there. So there specific factory consultants will be there who will be able to assist us in those things. If it is a hotel project, for example, there are consultants who will take care of the star rating. Like if you want a 4-star hotel, if you want a 5-star hotel, there are specific requirements that are needed. So that might be different from the normal building rules that are applied in our normal society. So there again, these consultants will be there, and all these things it will be planned. It will be done during the pre-planning and planning stages itself. This will not be something that will come as a surprise later on. We will be planning all this in the initial stage itself. We'll be using consultants. We'll be using outside help wherever it is required. So yes, we have our own knowledge, as well as we may use consultants to help us in specific aspects of this.
Okay, sir.
Can you discuss any cost reduction initiative you implemented in previous projects and their outcome?
Yes, see, cost reduction initiatives are very important in our industry, because that is one of the major factors. Because majority of the times, if you don't control your cost, your project might be not just profit. I mean, it might go into a loss. And other than that, also, even if project is running smoothly, also if you can reduce the cost, it will actually go into a bottom line. It will help your profits a lot. We have implemented, we do value engineering initiatives during planning stages, where we'll be trying to add value wherever we can. Second, some of the things that we can do, like we have done in the past also, that we are actually following right now also, is one is that we do planned purchasing, like planned bulk purchasing. Like initially itself, when the project is actually planned itself, we will come to know, like what is the quantity of materials that are required for the entire project, not just for today or next month or maybe 2 weeks from now. For the entire lifespan of the way, what will be the total quantity of materials that are required. And especially this will be important for commodities like cement and steel, which will be the bulk of the cost in the project. So there, what we do is, like if we have a fair idea of how much material is required, we will initially itself negotiate with the suppliers to get a quantity based discount on that. Because we might require, see, if you are purchasing, for example, 100 bags of cement, and if you are purchasing 2000 bags of cement, the cost will vary uh, very much. So we'll always try to understand what is the total amount, and we'll try to do planned bulk purchases of materials. That is one. Second is, we have used pooled resources before. Pooled resources is something that we use because, for example, if we have a site in the same location, for example, I am working out of Cochin. I have a site in maybe Trivandrum. I have two sites in Trivandrum, for example. So my majority of the materials and manpower will have to move from Cochin to Trivandrum. So if there is a site in Trivandrum where actually some material is going, I will try to make sure that if there is some requirement that might come in the next couple of days for my other site in Trivandrum, I will try to use the today's delivery itself to deliver the materials there also. So that we will use the pooled resources for both sides, which will actually bring down the cost for both sides simultaneously. Then another initiative that we have used is it's a common manufacturing thing that is used. It's called just in time (JIT). Just in time is one of the QC methodologies that we use, where we actually deliver a material or a resource just in time for its requirement. So, for example, if there is a work that if it is a material that we require for tomorrow's work, we'll deliver it only tomorrow. We'll not deliver it today, or we will not deliver it 1 week back. We'll deliver it only on the right day. The same with the resources also. Like, if you want labor to go there, if there is a work that the labor has to go tomorrow, the labor will be going there only tomorrow. So what this ensures is that there will be very little wastage of materials as well as labor. It has its own drawbacks also, that sometimes things will not go as planned. But whenever we are using just-in-time methodology, we'll try to save our resources as well as materials so that the cost can come down and we'll be able to save reductions there. And then again, the same thing, like, we'll always try to look at overheads, where overheads are coming. We'll try to reduce the overheads in any of the projects. Like, one of the most simplest overheads is transportation. Like, the same example, like, I may take, 10 or 50 bags of cement this week. Next week, again, I will be taking another 50 bags of cement to Trivandrum. So that means 2 times my vehicle is running up and down. So that fuel cost, my vehicle cost, everything is adding up. So I will try to reduce that. Wherever overheads can be cut down, we'll always cut down the overheads. So we always plan accordingly, and we'll try to reduce our cost wherever possible using whatever methodologies that we are using. And most of the times it's successful. I mean, that is good methodology to follow.
Okay, so that was the end of our questions, and we can wind up this session with a vote of thanks. So, on behalf of our group, I would like to extend a heartfelt thanks to Mr. Sachin S. Panikar of SG Traders Kochi for his engaging and insightful participation in the interview session today. So, we're truly grateful for taking your time to share your expertise as well as your experience with all of us. Your valuable insights, I'm sure, must have broadened our understanding and also inspired us to aspire towards excellence in our future endeavors. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.